Calling the meeting to order, welcome. It is the January 7th, 2025 City Council meeting. I hereby call the meeting to order. Members of the public may attend this council meeting in person or may watch or listen remotely by viewing the meeting on Channel 8, WCTV, and the city's website at www.wayzata.org/WCTV. Public comment during the public forum and/or public hearing portions of the meeting may be provided in person at the meeting, in advance, or by logging into the Zoom call and raising your hand during the public hearing. When your name is called in the meeting, you will be seen and heard in our council chambers and on the cable channel. You will be asked to unmute, and then you may begin your comment. All public comments must include your full name and address. This is our first meeting of 2025, where all the current council members are the same, and the new guy is the mayor here. My name is Andrew Mullen, and I'm thrilled that you're here, and here we go. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you'd stand if you are able, and we will pledge allegiance. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is roll call, and let the record reflect that all are present. I will also note that earlier this evening, the entire council participated in a workshop and reviewed the following: the Phase 2 of Municipal Cannabis Dispensary Feasibility Study by Point 7 Group to determine if there's interest from the council at this time to continue exploring whether or not the city of Wayzata should be entering the cannabis business. We will review that again here in a minute and talk about the results of that meeting. City Manager, do we have anybody on Zoom at this time? Okay, so the next
Mr. Mayor, we do not. Sorry, there was.
Okay, that's fine. So the next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or do we need any amendments?
I'll move to approve the agenda as outlined.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have moved in second, and all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. The next item is probably the reason some of you are here, is the public forum. Before we proceed to the public forum, I just would like to start with a few very brief remarks. I'd like to start by thanking publicly Joanna Mouton for her years of service to our community, most recently as mayor. Later this evening, we will affirm appointments to boards and commissions. If approved, we have over 50 citizens of our fellow citizens serving in this capacity if that moves forward. And as part of that process, we have 3 citizens stepping down this year, and including our chair of the Planning Commission before the term was ended. We will have a recognition of those folks at a near to City Council meeting, but I just wanted to acknowledge them, and we will publicly recognize them at a meeting near to now. Without further ado, just as a reminder, in the public forum, if there are any members of the public in attendance tonight and are interested in speaking, you need to state your name and address and indicate if you're representing a group entity, and limit your comments to 3 minutes as possible. If the item you wish to speak about is something that is on the agenda, fill out a form on the table and hand it to staff. For those of you who are watching on Zoom, which are currently nobody, please send a note to chat and staff will let you know when you will be required to speak. We also require, if you are on Zoom, to have your camera on. The first item on the public forum is the swearing in of our new members, and we have 3 members to be sworn in, and we will start with Ken Sorensen, then Alex Plekish, and finish with myself. So Jeff, if you and Ken and any of Ken's guests would go over to the dais here for your swearing in, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. Before we initiate the swearing in, I just want to say on behalf of the Wayzata Community Organization, it's my honor and privilege to conduct the oath of office for Councilmember Sorensen, Councilmember Plekish, and Mayor Mullen. Our beautiful and historic community was founded in 1854 and incorporated in 1883. So over these 150 years, in addition to hundreds of council members, Mayor Mullen, you are the city's 28th mayor. We still need to confirm that, but the 28th mayor, and we are thrilled Absolutely thrilled that you are here and now a part of this very well-respected legacy of leaders and leading a team, including our current council of dedicated public servants. So a really special night. A few housekeeping items before we begin. I will also be giving Mayor Mullen and the council members a certificate of election acknowledging their winning of the local election. And then if you'd like to say a few words after the swearing is complete, feel free to do so. We will be taking pictures during the swearing in, and then I believe Mayor Mullen will conduct a short recess to allow family members and any additional pictures that is not accomplished during the swearing in to happen. I think that's it. All right. So Councilmember Sorensen, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ken Sorensen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of council member
the duties of the office of council member
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I wasn't prepared to say much, but just want to say how enthused and excited I am to continue my role on the city council. I still feel a little bit like I'm the newbie up here. And I want to express my gratitude to and admiration to staff and to my peers and colleagues on the council. I think we have a wonderful group of people and prepared to make good decisions to move our city forward. You know, I hope I can bring a bit of knowledge and expertise to share from my years in industry, especially on certain items pertaining to land use and the like. My wife is here. I can tell you we thoroughly enjoy living here. We love our city. We have great things ahead. We're very optimistic about it. And thank you again.
Thank you, Ken. Next up is Alex Plekish for his third swearing in as a council member, third term.
Councilmember Plekish, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alex Plekish,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of council member
the duties of the office of council member
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Well, I didn't prepare a speech, but I'll just say a few words. You know, in light of my more recent election, which some of you probably know about, the drama that I used to experience here in Wayzata is now going to be very much of a respite for me. So these are the high points in my life. And as I told the press corps the other day when they asked a question, what's it been like? And I know I'm diverging here from Wayzata, but I thought it was appropriate considering my former firefighter colleagues. Is the answer to the question was I thought my election was going to get me into the business of politics, which of course this is part of. It did not. It got me into the business of fire hose drinking. And my 16 years in the fire department, I guess, prepared me for that. But seriously, this has been a tremendous pleasure for me. I think Wayzata is known as a council that is cohesive. We deliberate well. We disagree with each other well. We come to consensus and we move forward. And I look forward to the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. You got a plaque, Alex.
I'll add this to my collection.
Yeah, I guess next up is yours truly.
You guys want to come around, or?
Yeah, you can stand behind. There you go. Okay. Ready.
All ready? All right. Mayor Mullen, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name,
I, Andrew Mullen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United
to
States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of mayor
the duties of the office of mayor
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
of the city of Wayzata, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man, don't ask politicians to say anything. I will be very brief. I first want to recognize my parents, 90 and 85 years young, and thank them for being here tonight, as well as my daughter, Paige, and my wife, Kristen. Without their support, for all of us to have our peeps and our people, you can't do this job. I'm thrilled to be the 28th mayor of Wayzata, or 25th, whatever it ends up being when we look at the history records. I'd like to recognize also former Mayor Wilcox, who is here tonight as well as our fire chief, other first responders, and thank you for all being here, our police chief, and thank you. So I will do my best of ability to serve this community that I love. I pledge to collaborate with my colleagues here, with our staff, and with our boards and commissions to do the best job we can to steward the city that we all love. And I thank you for being here, and let's get on to getting the work done. We will, I guess, now have a short recess to allow those who don't want to stick around for the fun part of the meeting can depart, and thank you all for being here. So we'll just click to a short recess, and then we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. Did you want to take pictures right now?
City Mayor.
I had the first round of drink.
There you go.
We're on.
All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Thank you for that. Nice ceremony for the new re-elected in a hard-fought election for Ken and for Alex. And then we're all sworn in. So the next item on the agenda is new agenda items. Does anyone have any new agenda items to discuss or bring up? Go ahead, Ken.
Mayor, if it's okay.
Your mic isn't on.
Microphone.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, not really an item, but a quick comment, if that'd be okay.
That'd be fine.
And mainly under the context of, I may not be here for the next meeting and workshop, but I would just want to encourage this council to put short-term rentals high in our priority. I think it's something that is an issue that we need to deal with, and the sooner we deal with it, the better. So I think it's an issue that is here now, and I just want to make that quick comment in case I'm going.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Duly noted for the record. Anyone else want to bring up any items that are new? Okay, next on the agenda is approving the consent agenda. On our consent agenda tonight is approval of City Council workshop and regular meeting minutes of December 17th, 2024, approval of the check register, approval of municipal licenses, approval of the Thursday, April 17th, 2025 time and date at 5:30 p.m. for the 2025 Local Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting. Boy, that's a mouthful. Approval of the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 845 to regulate cannabis businesses, to accept the resignation of Planning Commissioner Chair Larissa Stockton, and approval of the special event permit for the 2025 Chili Open by the Wayzata West Metro, formerly known as the Wayzata Chamber, and approval of the amended 2025 meeting calendar. City Manager, I believe that you have one correction that you need to note on that consent agenda?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 13 of the agenda packet for the minutes of the December 17th meeting, there was an error there for the vote of the cannabis regulations. It said 5-0. It was actually 4-1. So Kathy Learvig, our city clerk, has already corrected that, but I wanted to make sure that was established on the record.
Okay. Before we approve the consent agenda with that change, is there any other adjustments to the consent agenda that anyone would like to make, or would anyone like to pull any items from the consent agenda?
Mayor, if it's okay, I would just like to make a comment on item F.
Sure. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. So I wasn't aware we're going to have maybe another session to really acknowledge Larissa Stockton in her role, but since this is the first meeting where she has officially resigned, she was on the Planning Commission for 5 years, the last 2 as chair, and I think in many respects she did a very wonderful job, and we dealt with many major projects, major developments. I think she did a really nice job of making sure there was honest discussion and consensus on the issues, and I just look forward to letting her know how much we appreciated her at a later date.
Yeah. No, that's very nice, Ken. Thank you. Any other further comments on Larissa's situation?
Well, I think we'll have another time for this, but I absolutely want to acknowledge also Larissa. She took over as chair after I left, and we worked together for 3 of her 5 years. And I found her to be incredibly articulate, incredibly well. I mean, she always did her homework, and she just added a great deal to the conversation in the Planning Commission. So, Larissa, if you're out there, we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Well, I guess I'll weigh in on it too. I did not serve with her on the Planning Commission, but I certainly observed her from afar in the audience here. And I've been along with her for the whole ride. I was the first one, I think, to encourage her to actually do some of that. So we're going to miss her on a Planning Commission, but we're not going to miss her in the community. She's as smart as a whip.
Yeah. Any further? Yeah.
I'd hate to be the only one to not wish Larissa well on her next chapter and thank her for all those years of hard work and service to the community.
I will echo that. As I stated in my remarks earlier, there are 4, including Larissa, stepping down from current service, and we will, at a very near council meeting, acknowledge them. As it pertains to Larissa, I couldn't state it any better than those that are here. I have not been serving in this room for over 8 years, so I did not have an opportunity to serve with Larissa, but I did meet her when she first moved to the community. I guess it would have been way back to 2014. And I was pleased to see her serve. I'm sad to see her go, but I agree with Alex. I don't think we've lost sight of Larissa's contributions to our community. So with that comment, with that adjustment, are there any items that need to be corrected or items to be pulled? I would like to pull the cannabis to the regular discussion. So I'll try, I guess, do I have to have a motion, David, to move the agenda or the consent agenda forward?
Yes, Mayor, you can ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda without that item and with the minutes corrected as noted.
Okay, so I will make is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the modification and the item pulled as presented?
I would like to make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no, so that moves forward. Under new business is consideration of adoption of resolution 01-2025, or do we need to do this blue card now? Let's just tackle it.
Sure.
That's okay?
When do you want, before we do that, just to be, for clarity purposes, when do you want to discuss item 7?
Oh, the one I pulled?
Yeah.
Let's do it at the end. So we'll finish with cannabis. We'll address this blue card now, and then we'll go into our a regular agenda. Does that make sense?
That sounds great.
Okay, great. So we have a blue card that was filled out by Kevin Sullivan. Would you like to approach the microphone and state for the record your comments? If you wouldn't mind, when you get there, take your time, just your name and address, and then what item you'd like to discuss with us.
Sure, no problem. My name is Kevin Sullivan, and my address is 17415 29th Avenue, North. That's Plymouth, Minnesota, 55147.
Thank you.
Sir, can you
I gotta
put the
press
mic on?
press the
Sorry.
button for the mic.
Here we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Got it. And the reason I'm here tonight is I am the incoming president of the Sons of the American Revolution. The Sons of the American Revolution is a patriotic society, and it's located in Minnesota, and every state has got a chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. And the reason that you may know about the Sons of the American Revolution is the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and the children of the Sons of the American Revolution conduct the Flying Pancake Breakfast in the Union Depot area every
well-known
4th of
event
July.
in town.
So we've been doing that for a number of years, and we really like it, and all of the state societies come together and coalesce here in Wayzata, and we are really thrilled and pleased with the outpouring of support that the citizens of Wayzata have given us, and also the support of the actual city government for the government to allow us to use that space at the Union Depot. So with all that said, there is a 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in 2026, and we would like to donate a bench to be installed in the park perhaps and commemorate it on July 4th of 2026. Okay. And at a minimum, we'd like to do a bench, but maybe we'd like to make it a little bit larger, maybe do a flagpole where we can, raise a Betsy Ross flag and that kind of thing. So I brought some paperwork if anybody wants to look or talk about that further. Maybe I can come back next month and, come up with a different proposal. But I just am here tonight to see if there's an appetite for the city to team up with our 3 groups to do something commemoratively
Thank you for coming forward. I don't think that this venue would be appropriate to take action on it, but I will receive the idea on behalf of the council and put it on a future agenda via staff so that we can weigh in and decide how best to take advantage of your very gracious offer and see what we can do to partner with you to celebrate the 250th year of the birth of our country.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
So if you wouldn't mind giving the materials to staff, and then you can work with our staff to get on a future agenda where we can discuss this, your proposal more specifically. But
Yeah,
thank you for bringing it forward.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, so we are now on new business, and the first item on the new business is to consider adoption of Resolution 01-2025 designating appointments and assignments for 2025. Before you get into presenting the options, I would like to propose a way for us to go through approving these if I have support from the council. So my proposal, it's a long list of appointments, and I guess my recommendation to try to efficiently go through it is to break it up into 3 buckets. The first would be, what are we as council members signing up for and being appointed to? Pro tem, various boards and assignments that are council roles. Then there are appointments for things like the city attorney, the newspaper of record, that would be the second bucket. And then there are then boards, commissions, and task force. So we could just take them in that order to try to efficiently go through and drive consensus on each of them and then move it forward as a package. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay. So city manager, if you would, or would take us through what the staff's recommendation is, and then we'll take it through in the order that I recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to do so. Just a real brief presentation here, highlighting what's in the council packet. Pull that up. Really, this is this resolution that assigns all of the official appointments and representatives of the city is done at the first meeting of the year. It's for, from a legal perspective, we have to fill these certain roles and name them. But also, there's a lot of city-appointed roles and responsibilities that we need to update every year based on, changing of staff and changing of council as well. There's a few nuances with all of them. I don't think I need to go through them all, but, a couple things to note. Panaway is a good example. We've got, because the partnership is critical and it's important that we have both staff and the council connected to the Conservancy and build those relationships. We have several roles related to Panaway and the Conservancy's actions, a few planning studies, and as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the council-related appointments on different task forces. The resolution, it's kind of chopped up, but we can certainly start out with the council-related appointments.
I mean, you can take it all the way through, and then I've kind of prepared to organize them into those 3 buckets.
I don't know that, this is what I put together in terms of what the discussion is related to the council appointments tonight. So maybe that's a good way to kick it off, Mr. Mayor.
So I'll just go through each of them, and then what the staff is rolling as the recommended, and then let's have a conversation amongst ourselves if we're all comfortable with staff recommendation or we would like to make any adjustments. So first is Mayor Pro Tem, and the order is for Alex Plexus to retain Mayor Pro Tem, and then next in line would be Molly McDonald based on seniority. Then we move to the Fire Relief Board of Trustees, and the recommendation there is for me to serve on that with Jeff Dahl and Kevin Klaprick. The next ones are all either task force or commission related that have a council representative. So we're being asked to have 2 representatives, the mayor plus 1 council member on the Panaway partnership team. We are being asked to have 2 council members on the Panaway District Committee. Is it 2 council members, or you're saying 1 and a backup?
For the Panaway District Committee, we've historically had 2.
Okay, and then 2 for the zoning task force, and then up to 2 for the public art and steering committee. And since that's new, there are nobody there. So let's start with the easy ones, I think. Mayor Pro Tem is typically based on years of service on the council. Was anyone opposed to the recommendation of Alex with Molly in second position there? Okay, so we'll move on from that one. The next one is Fire Relief Board of Trustees. Does anyone, I would accept being appointed to the Relief Board. Are there any objections to the mayor being appointed to the Relief Board for fire? Okay. Then I'm going to go to the next one, which is the Public Art Steering Committee, up to 2. I had a chance to talk to folks a little bit in advance, and Councilmember Plekish expressed some interest in serving on that committee. So I'll put his name forward. Is there anyone else on council? We can have up to 2 to serve on the Public Arts Steering Committee. Anyone?
If no one else would, I would love to be a part of it.
Okay. So we have Alex and Councilmember Molly in that role. Any objections to that? Okay, so then I have a recommendation on how to try to make the remaining appointments a little bit more efficient. The only one that's guided by any, formal document or policy is to have representation for the Panaway Steering Committee. The rest of these are task forces, and I would like to see us at least put at rest the Section Foreman's House Task Force, the Zoning Task Force, the Panaway District Committee Task Force, and try to collapse that into 1 or 2 council members that address Panaway for 2025. And my desire to do this is out of pure efficiency. I don't see us moving forward with any construction on Panaway in 2025 of any kind. But again, it's all about efficiency and trying to use our time wisely. So I'm going to make a suggestion to collapse the Section Foreman's House, the monthly representation on the Panaway board meeting, and the leadership Panaway to be just one group. And it could be 1 or 2 members in that group to tackle all those things if they were to come up during the course of the year. That's my first suggestion, and I wanted to get people's reaction to that suggestion. If people feel strongly about leaving them in place, I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to be efficient. Go ahead.
Just in regards to the Panaway District Committee, we've been talking a lot about it, and I'd love to hear what Councilmember Parkhill thinks as well, but our last meeting, we felt the same way a bit, but the committee as a whole preferred and I think agreed upon that we would kind of hold off disbanding for the year and maybe just keep 1 or 2 meetings just to check in and make sure. And so if that's something that you would be open to or comfortable with, and also Councilmember Parkhill, make sure I'm remembering correctly how we left it.
Yeah, I don't think we had a huge list of items to accomplish, but given what may come up this summer and what, given that there's fundraising involved, it seemed maybe premature to completely disband it.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm fine with that. So let me revise my proposal to say, leave the Panaway District Committee. Can we collapse the Section Foreman's House and the monthly and leadership into 1 or 2 roles, again, for efficiency's sake? Do we have any opposition to that?
Monthly leadership.
Well, so there is the Panaway, let me find it here.
Team.
The Panaway team, and then there's the monthly council member that attends the Conservancy Board meetings as a observer.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that we collapse that into 1 role of 1 or 2 members of this body to perform that function.
Mr. Mayor, one comment. We may have to come back to another meeting because I do know that this represents how the joint public-private partnership agreement.
Right, it mandates having a leadership meeting. It doesn't mandate a council participant in the as a monthly representative in their board meeting.
Yeah, we can double check that, but yeah, that might be correct. So we would want to confirm that regardless, but I think we can move forward with that intent that you have.
Okay, and again, all I'm trying to do is drive efficiency. I'm not trying to, anything other than just trying to be mindful of our time and try to be efficient.
Well, I have interest in staying on the team,
Okay.
but I don't have interest in going to the Conservancy meetings.
Okay.
So in this world of efficiency, does that mean then you're either on all or nothing?
No, not at all. I'm simply suggesting to try to make it more efficient, and if there's not support for it, we leave it the way it is.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I can just weigh in on at least one thing, is the Section Foreman House design part of this can be collapsed because we're done. There's nothing else to do, so that can be eliminated.
All right, any objections to the Section Foreman's House Task Force being eliminated?
No.
Okay, so we'll do that. and then I will try to come back to this and see if I have it right and have consensus. So I will withdraw my recommendation for adjusting the Panaway committee assignments, and we'll go back to what was in practice in 2024. So that would be up to 2 council members for the steering committee and 1 member of council to attend the monthly meetings. So you would like, or you've put your name forward to serve on the steering committee. Is there anyone else that would like to serve on the steering committee?
And just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, on the resolution, that is the team committee.
All right, the team, sorry, I'll use the right term, the Panaway team meeting.
I would like to serve on that.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to serve on the monthly Conservancy board meetings?
I would have an interest in that.
Okay. So I had an interest in serving on the, what do we call it, the Panaway, where is it? Not the monthly, what is it called?
Team meeting.
Panaway team meeting. I'd like to serve on that. So we need to break a tie between Jeff, Molly, and myself. I don't feel super strongly about it, but I feel like I would like to serve on that committee. So does anyone?
So you don't want 2 council people on that?
No, I'm saying mayor and 1 council person, or 2 council people is what I'm suggesting. So.
Well, I think since Molly's been on it before, and I do think the mayor should be on it, honestly. So I will rescind my volunteerism.
Okay, there we go. So let me see if I can take the first rung of these and see if I have it right. So we have Mayor Pro Tem of Alex in first position, and then Molly. For the Fire Relief Board of Trustees, we're putting forward Andrew, the mayor, Jeff Dahl, and Kevin Klaprick. For city representative on the Panaway team, we will put Mayor Mullen and Councilmember McDonald. For the Panaway District Committee, we will continue to have Jeff Parkhill and Molly McDonald serve on that. For the Wayzata Conservancy Liaison, which would be the monthly board meeting council-appointed position, we would have Ken Sorensen. And then for the Art Committee, we would have Councilmember Plekish and Councilmember McDonald. Did I get that right from everyone's from a council perspective? Okay, so let's go on to the next rung, which is the city-appointed, positions such as LMCD. So we have LMCD Matthew Thompson for a term expiring on 2027. We have the Suburban Rate Authority representative, which would be City Manager Jeff Dahl. We have the City Attorney reaffirmed as Beston Flanagan and David Schelzel. We have the Prosecuting Attorney as Jeffrey Lambert. The Health Officer as Hennepin County. The Official Newspaper as Sun Sailor. The Assistant Weed Inspector, boy, that sounds like a fun job, Kurt Klaprick. The City Forester, Bennett Mirian. The Responsible Authority for Purpose of the Data and Privacy Acts, Kathy Learvig. The Assessor for Residential, Commercial, Industrial, Utility Apartments in the Promenade of Wayzata, Hennepin County. The Official Depository as the Old National Bank. The Registered Municipal Advisor as Eilers, and the Designated Auditor as of Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, and Radasevich, MMKR. Are we okay with all those appointments, Council? Okay, great. Then the last bucket would be moving to the appointed representatives for Planning Commission. That's the last item to be filled, right? So we talked earlier about appointees, right? Do we have a slate of appointees as well? Or is it just trying to fill Chair Larissa Stockton?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, that would come back to the next meeting.
Okay, so I've accomplished, I think, everything on this list. I've got consensus. I would accept a motion inclusive of what I just ticked off.
I have one question
Yeah,
for you,
please.
Mr. Mayor. What about the zoning task force?
Oh, did I miss that one?
Is that one dissolved?
Zoning and just to confirm, the design committee for Section Performance House, those 2 would be dissolved then.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Okay, good.
Are we okay with that? Are we okay with the zoning and the Section Foreman House Task Force being dissolved at this time? Okay, so I'm seeing nods. So now we would take this as, I would accept a motion for resolution 01/2025, appointing these appointments and assignments for 2025. Do I need to read it off again?
Mr. Mayor, I think you've got it right. I think the edits to this resolution that you went through in your discussion are pretty clear on the record, so I think your motion can stand. I would just amend it, just append it with as amended as you discussed.
Okay. So I would accept a motion to approve this resolution with the amendments discussed.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. The next item on our agenda, 8B, is the approval of 2025 legislative priorities. Council, is this for you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So similar to the last item, which is an action that we need to take at our first meeting, this is not required, but this is something that we've been in the practice of doing, especially as the city and the state gears up for its legislative session. So ultimately, this time of year, the city council directs staff to advocate legislative priorities if there's alignment with our strategic initiatives. We utilize a consultant to help us do that. It's Lockridge, Grindal, Nowen to assist with that advocacy. And as I mentioned, all of the anything we advocate for needs to be consistent with our strategic initiatives. In this case, diversify revenue, achieve and sustain operational excellence, and sustain community character and safety. That's a big umbrella. Typically, what we advocate for are the big ticket items in our strategic plan. And just briefly, I'll go through what's in our draft legislative priorities that was discussed in a meeting, a workshop in December. First off is a significant bonding request. This would be our, I think, third request since the last time we were awarded funds for the Lake Walk. In this case, we're asking for dollars for not only future phases of Panaway, ultimately probably years down the road, but Clapridge Park, the beach, Shaver Park, and we are working on a needs assessment for public safety facilities. Not knowing how that might come out, we know we're gonna need help with design, and that's gonna be a lofty amount. So we thought at this point it'd be appropriate to ask for design-related bonding dollars. So all in sum, similar to what we discussed in December, it's a $15 million request. Next item is a sales tax exemption. We've been successful in the past asking for all the projects that are identified in our bonding request, that those projects are exempt from sales tax. Currently, there's no mechanism for those to be exempt. Next big one, I would say, is the local option food and beverage sales tax. This was the item that was discussed the most, I would say, at the workshop. This is an item that we have really moved forward with advocating for 2 years ago. We were not successful in getting the allowance by the legislature for us to move forward with that. And concurrently that year, the legislature passed a moratorium on sales taxes. So right now, advocating for it is not going to be fruitful unless that moratorium is lifted. And we don't know what's going to happen there. But our based on what we discussed in November or December, we would advocate to lift that moratorium and ultimately support the allowance of a future food and beverage sales tax for this community, with the condition that there's a lot more engagement that needs to be done prior to getting too far ahead of this. The reason why food and beverage, as a result of that workshop discussion, is because it's much more flexible in terms of what we can use it for. And ultimately, there was discussion about how it really takes revenue that's generated from businesses that are where a lot of people are coming from the outside, where there's a lot of city services that are needed for them. More so, it doesn't mean other businesses don't have that cause, but more so with food and beverage type businesses. So those are the reasons why we focused on food and beverage versus a broader sales tax. Last one was something that was brought up at the meeting, and very, very germane to our community, was to advocate for more local control for fines and fees for nuisance type offenses with our police, whether it's e-bikes, whether it's parking violations, whether it's noise, mufflers, all that. There's a lot of restrictions, I don't want to get into it now, but that the state legislature has placed on how much we can fine, what our box is to how we can ultimately punish violators. We want to advocate for more local control to do it, to right size it for our community. So those are the 4 general priorities that we want to advocate for. But to have a discussion in public is important before we move forward with anything with our lobbyists. So happy to answer any questions that the council
Yeah,
has.
questions of staff from council?
Yeah, just one question, Mr. Mayor. So just so I understand, on the sales tax issue, would this be to lobby the state to get rid of the moratorium, or lobby on behalf of Wayzata getting the sales tax issue?
Good question, Councilmember Sorensen. It would be ultimately for both, because in order to move forward with any type of sales tax, they have to lift the moratorium. That may be an obvious thing coming down the legislative session. I don't know that for sure, though. So ultimately, it would be to, advocate to lift the moratorium and then allow us to initiate our own sales tax.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Okay, so let's bring it back to council for discussion, and I think maybe the best way to do it is just one by one and see if anyone have any comments or adjustments that they'd like to try to provide staff guidance to provide our lobbyists. So we'll start with the bonding request, which includes capital improvements related to Panaway Clappick Park, Shaver Park, and Public Safety Design Facility. Any additional comments or feedback that you want to offer staff on this item, council?
I could make one comment on it. The public safety facility, that is not something the council has discussed.
Okay.
And I think we should before we go in and
Lobby for it?
lobby for it, because I don't know anything about it. All I know is apparently we need a new thing, and it's in the capital plan for 10 years out or something like that. And so I think it's important for us to dig into these capital expenditures before we, I don't know. Maybe it's something we do need. I don't know anything about it, and I
a fair
feel
question.
like I should know about it.
Maybe just see if any others have questions about it or shared Councilmember Parkhill's concerns.
I'll just weigh in on it. I think that's a reasonable thing to note. It probably doesn't change the fact we'd still like to get $15 million from the state.
Right.
And then we kind of decide where we're going to spend it. So let's ask. We're probably not going to get 15. We'll get something less than that if we get anything. But he's got a point. We haven't talked about it, so let's talk about it before we list it as a legislative priority for our lobbyists.
Okay. Any comments from staff on that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Pluckish, and that's exactly what we started to talk about in December was, well, can it hurt to have it on there? We brought up that we don't really know what this needs assessment is going to look like, so it might be premature, but does it hurt to add? Because if we take it off, then we're going to have to, shave off $2 million of the bonding request as well, because we have to have all that request allocated and directed specifically to an expense. So we could just ask for it next year, or even though it's uncomfortable because we don't really know what it looks like, and a lot of engagement has to happen first with the council, with the community. All we're doing right now is asking for money to help.
Well, I can tell you this, if a legislator watched this meeting, I would pull that right out of the request right now. But, I don't feel strongly about it. I think it's a very fair point, Councilmember Parkhill, and I would support pulling that from the bonding request at this time, given, Alex's comment and Jeff Parkhill's comment, and then we can always add it back, right, after we've surfaced it at a council meeting to discuss the need for a new public safety facility.
Would probably have to be next year if it's too far in the legislative session, but for sure, we can add it to a future request.
Anyone else can weigh in? I don't feel strongly about it, so we've got 2 people expressing concern, 1 neutral and 2 silent at this point.
Excuse me. I mean, I kind of remember the conversation at the end of the year and felt comfortable having it on this year's priorities and in the request. So I'm fine with leaving it in too, but so.
I don't have a strong opinion about it. I think I'm perfectly fine.
All right, just to move this along, I'm going to
either
say
way.
leave it. We have three nods to say leave it. Next one is sales tax exemption on construction materials. Comments from council on that line item or, nope? Everyone comfortable with that? Okay, the next one is local option food and beverage sales tax. And this is both advocating to release the restriction on having a local area sales tax, and then if that is removed, then going for a food and beverage tax over a broader tax. So comments or questions from council, or comments, I guess, on that one? Go ahead.
I would have a question. Maybe a little more clarity on what we mean by more flexibility on how tax can be spent if we go with just the food and sales tax.
Yeah, so the historically for municipalities that have received food and beverage sales taxes, they're able to use those taxes for reimbursement on operations. So that the local option sales tax usually is limited to capital projects. Food and beverage allows us more flexibility to utilize it for operations, so labor.
But at the moment, right, both are handcuffed by the legislature.
Correct.
You can do
Yep.
neither.
Correct.
So then the option here would be, with his clarification, would be, do we want to move forward if advocating to release the restriction to have a local tax? I think there's going to be consensus on that. The second part is, do we go for a hospitality tax or a broader tax? And the difference, as I heard you articulated, is one provides a restriction that won't allow that capital to be used for operations, and one does not. Hospitality allows you to use it for operations. If you go for a broader sales tax that would be outside of hospitality in our business community, then you would be restricted to use it for capital, not operations.
Correct, yep.
Did I get that right?
You did, yep.
Okay, so we have Councilmember Sorenson's question. Any other comments from council on this one?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. This was like juxtaposed of either or, and you weren't a part of the discussion, but the food and beverage sales tax, not only is it preferred because it's more flexible, it's preferred because there is a sense that 95% of people that visit our food and beverage establishments are not from Wayzata.
Okay.
So the tax burden on Wayzata residents would be a lot less than the other tax, which would apply much more so to Wayzata. So there's several reasons why the food and beverage sales tax is the preferred.
Any other comments on this one?
No, I agree with that, though.
Okay.
Let me just make one other comment. I would say that I would prefer not to have a broad sales tax, because that will tax the citizens of Wayzata more, and I don't think we need another tax in this state,
Fair enough.
or in this town, let's say.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, so I've had a chance to study this. I did not have a chance to review it the last several years as you guys did. I'm comfortable moving forward with guidance to staff and our lobbyists to try to allow local communities to tax themselves if they so choose. So no issues there. I do have a little bit different perspective, but I'm not going to draw a red line over it. I actually, if we're going to do this, I prefer the model of allowing a referendum to happen and the citizens to vote whether or not they want to be taxed. That's my general perspective on it. You have to do that, I believe, if you go for the general tax. Well, we don't know because the law is being adjusted, right?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I
Yeah,
could
please.
chime in, it's like currently in statute, a local option sales tax does require that it is voted on via referendum. Even despite that not being a requirement of food and beverage sales taxes, that has been put in place by the legislature with the last few that have been approved.
Okay.
So not required, but likely.
Okay, so, I mean, a little bit, a game of hypotheticals. Something I feel more strongly about personally is that if we are going to propose a tax on any stakeholder in our community, whether it be residents paying for it, visitors paying for it, that they have full understanding of why, that after this meeting, we direct staff to go out and meet with the chamber, to go out and meet with every single restaurant owner that will meet with us to explain to them that we are going to go do this. My recollection of what I read in the paper is the last time we tried this, we maybe didn't do all the engagement we could have, and we got to the Capitol, and the retail lobbyists sort of chimed in and said, you don't have the support of your community, and we kind of didn't look like we had our ducks in a row. So if we're going to do this, I would support it, but I would direct staff to go out and meet with every single restaurant owner that will meet with you to explain to them that why we're doing this and what we're doing. And the second part of that would be, I don't know if we can get it tonight, but before Ann, our lobbyist, goes to the Capitol, that we have some consensus on generally what we'd use the money for. I'm not a big fan of asking for money for the Capitol without some guidance on what would you use it for. You can say it's going to be used to offset property tax. Great. For what? Right? If we're going to tax somebody, I want some general guidance from this body on we need the money to do what? Public safety, parks, whatever it may be. And so I don't think I want to hold it up tonight, but could we, before, and the session, just started this week or not even yet? Right. We have a little bit of time to offer some feedback to Ann on that. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not going to hold it up, but I wanted to state my perspective on what would need to be in place to support it.
Mr. Mayor, what we could do, because I do think, even though the session's starting up in theory soon, with the moratorium, we've heard that might not, be lifted until the very end of the session. Mm-hmm. So we do, I think, have time, a little bit of time to come back to the council and talk about what an engagement plan might look like, as well as just what we've presented before about what it could pay for, and have that discussion before we get too far into it.
That would make me comfortable. Any other comments on that one? No? Okay. The last one is local control and fines, fees, and for nuisances such as noise and e-bikes. Comments or discussion from council on that one?
I would make one quick comment that I would expect the lobbyists to go one step further and not just look at control on fines and fees, but also are these nuisances detrimental on a broader scale? So should they ask the state legislature to look at it more holistically and statewide, which I assume they will, but.
No, good comment, good comment. Others?
I'll just say that I'm philosophically in favor of granting more control lower in our government instead of higher in our government. And I think that's what this is all about, is to give us more control rather than have the state or the county telling us what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. I just have, Councilmember Park. Okay, I just have one comment. I met recently with Commissioner Bo Carlson from Three Rivers, as well as at-large member Jan Gunther from Three Rivers, and e-bikes is high on their list. And so through this process, I think we have an ally there. And could we ask staff and our lobbyists to check in with Three Rivers to find out what they've got going, because they're a larger, government entity than they are, and if we're aligned with, they want some regulation on e-bikes as well. So if staff could add that to their list of engagement, that would be appreciated.
We've already got a meeting plan. Hasn't happened yet, but we're on it.
Okay, so I think, do we need a motion on this one? Okay, so I guess I would accept a motion to move forward the 2025 draft legislation priorities amended with the feedback from council heard here tonight. I would accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Okay, first.
Second.
Second from Member Sorensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. So the next item I asked to be pulled, which is the approval of the second reading of adoption of Ordinance 845 to regulate cannabis businesses. Before I ask staff just to make a brief summary of what that ordinance is and the action we're taking, I want to revisit our workshop topic for tonight, which was the entire council met with staff in workshop earlier this evening to discuss further action on exploring whether or not the city of Wayzata would entertain entering into the cannabis business and applying for a license. I would say that my summary of that meeting is we had consensus, unanimous consensus, to put that action on hold, which would mean for the foreseeable future, or, on hold until this council or a future council brings it back, that we will cease expending any resources, money, or staff time exploring entering the cannabis business. So I just wanted to state that for the record. And then with that, there is a related but separate matter, which is the second reading of the ordinance around, now that we've decided we're not going to get in the business, we still have to allow a business to operate in Wayzata. And so if staff could just briefly summarize the resolution, and then we'll take a vote on it. Does anyone have any other further comments from the workshop? I don't want to cut anybody off if I misrepresented the meeting, if anyone wants to make a comment about the workshop. Okay. So staff, if you could summarize the resolution before us.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the second reading. At the last council meeting, the council approved the first reading of ordinance amendments, both in our regulate licensing part of our code as well as zoning, that really sets the local regulatory framework to allow cannabis businesses. That means retail, that means delivery, that means manufacturing, although that doesn't really apply because we don't really have manufacturing districts here, but cannabis uses to locate within the city. Part of that was a map, a buffering that the state gave us the ability to utilize to influence where we felt comfortable cannabis business could locate. And I would say the council had a lot of discussion, robust discussion about that. And ultimately, we have to allow areas within the city, commercial areas that could house a cannabis business. But the council chose to be pretty conservative in terms of allowing it in just a few areas, specifically along Wayzata Boulevard and then further out along 12, just a few eligible kind of commercial districts. So this was all a part, as a result of the legislation that the city passed, or the state passed, a couple of years ago, and they allowed us to put a moratorium in place that would not allow any cannabis-related businesses until the end of this past year. So that's why this is coming to you now. We want to make sure we had something in the books in case the state does get their act together and we start to see their application and process, move forward, and we could have cannabis businesses coming to the community. So
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions of staff? No. Any desire to have further discussion at the council level of this ordinance for its second reading? No. Okay, so I would accept a motion then for the approval of the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 845 to regulate cannabis businesses.
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councilmember Parkhill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Plekish. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that passes 5-0. And then I think we are on to the city manager's report.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to again congratulate Mayor Mullen and the rest of the council, especially council members Plekish and Sorensen, on your election, and we look forward to working with you.
It was a hard-fought campaign.
For some more than others.
Speak for yourself, Alex.
I did.
And I know, speaking on behalf of staff, we appreciate you guys' service, not only just to the community, but how much you care about the people in this organization that provide those services. So looking forward to this year. Reminder, MLK Day coming up. I think that's on the 20th, so offices will be closed. Update in community development. Congratulations to Val Quarles. Her title's changed to city planner, which involves some more responsibility. So congrats to her. We're still working to fill our community development director position. We've got interviews starting next week, so hopefully within the next month or two that'll be filled. And with the start of Mayor Mullen's tenure, Mayor Mullen's going to begin with a cool new initiative to breed more community engagement and have meetups at the Muni, monthly meetups at the Muni.
Otherwise known as the Wayzata Bar and Grill.
And the first one's on February 10th from 7 to 9 p.m.
I think that's a great idea, and I hope, you get a lot of positive feedback. Who knows?
I might be sitting there by myself, but at least I'll try.
But our plan going forward is to have these monthly meetings, and we'll see how it goes. But we've got a great venue for it, so why not do it, right? And then the last thing, we're doing a little bit differently this year, starting the year off with the beginning of the year with a State of the Cities with a new council. So our plan is to have in this room, State of the Cities, Thursday, February 25th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Short and sweet, kind of more of a happy hour type, get to know your neighbor part at the beginning, and then a program at 5, and then a Q&A for anybody that has any questions to see where the city's going in 2025.
Okay. Any questions of the city manager?
I have one comment.
Okay.
Chili Open is on February 8th, and there still is tickets.
Yes.
Wow. That's a first.
I just got the lowdown from the head of our Chamber of Commerce, and it sounds like a really fun day.
Fantastic.
Be my first one. I'm excited about it. I got a team together, and
Oh, fun.
we're going to have a good time. And apparently there's an event Friday night, too, that you can get tickets to that has live bands and a live band, and I think they're actually serving alcohol that night. So
Okay. So Chili Open on
Chili
Lake
Open
Minnetonka,
with the
February.
Chamber of Commerce.
Mother Nature is building ice out there right now, so we're in good.
Right, we're at 8 inches apparently.
Any other comments for city manager? I just have one. Just want to reiterate that at the next meeting, we're going to publicly recognize the folks that are stepping down, and we will address the reappointment of chair, not for the chair, but for another member of our community to serve on planning commission to replace Larissa Stockton. So that'll be on our next council meeting later this month.
Yep, correct.
Okay. If I have nothing further, oh, shoot, we went past 8 o'clock, but I will accept the motion to conclude tonight's meeting, and thank you for your patience, everyone, on my first meeting. I haven't been in this room for 8 years and not ever in this chair. Well, I guess I was mayor pro tem, so I did lead the meeting a few times, but it takes a little bit to do it, and appreciate your patience. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The meeting's closed. Thank you.